Bridle Path, Toronto, the most expensive residential street in Canada. The neighborhood where the old money of the country's largest city has lived for generations. The CEOs, the banking dynasties, the inherited fortunes that built the skyline visible in the distance, and sitting inside it, a limestone and bronze Beaux-Arts estate, 50,000 square feet, built from scratch on a $6.7 million lot. Total construction cost $100 million. Designed for a man who grew up in a rented house in the North End and who told Architectural Digest, when they put his home on their cover in 2020, that he wanted the structure to stand firm for 100 years. Most musicians buy the biggest house available and stop there. Drake spent years designing, building, and refining a structure he described not as a home, but as something he would leave behind. He collaborated with one of Canada's most sought-after interior architects on every room. He sourced a marble bathtub that weighs as much as a car. He had Michael Jordan sign the floor of his basketball court. And he built the whole thing in Toronto, not in Los Angeles, not in Miami, not in the city where most of the entertainment industry would have told him to build it. In the city that made him. Today, we are going inside Drake's massive Toronto empire, the Embassy, the OVO machine, the deals that turned a child actor from Degrassi into one of the wealthiest and most commercially dominant artists in the history of the music industry. He did not just build a house, he built a headquarters, and the empire that runs from it is worth $400 million and counting. Stay locked in until the end, because we are breaking down the single room inside the Embassy that stopped every Architectural Digest editor in the building when they saw the photographs. Not the basketball court, not the bowling alley, not the 4,000-pound marble bathtub. The room that Drake dedicated specifically to his Hermes Birkin collection, displayed like museum pieces, lit like art, inside a private residence in the most expensive neighborhood in Canada. The collection inside that room is worth more than most people's entire net worth, and it is just one room. We are going chapter by chapter, from a rented house in the North End of Toronto, to a $100 million limestone and bronze estate in Bridle Path, to a music and media empire worth $400 million that is still expanding. This story starts not with a record deal, but with a television set. Chapter 1. The Origin, Degrassi, the North End, and the Decision to Stay. Aubrey Drake Graham was born on October 24, 1986 in Toronto, Ontario, to a Canadian Jewish mother named Sandy Graham and an African-American father named Dennis Graham, a drummer from Memphis, Tennessee, who separated from Sandy when Drake was 5 years old. Drake grew up on Weston Road in the North End of Toronto with his mother. In circumstances that required real financial management, Sandy worked multiple jobs to keep the household stable, and Drake has spoken publicly about the specific texture of that instability. Moving between schools, watching his mother's finances, understanding from childhood that the gap between the life they were living and the life he could see from the outside was real and not permanently fixed. At 15, he got a job that would change everything. Not a record deal, not a producer connection, a role on the Canadian television drama Degrassi. The Next Generation, Jimmy Brooks, the basketball player who gets shot in a school shooting and spends the rest of his run on the show in a wheelchair. Drake played that character for 7 years, and those 7 years funded everything that came next. Drake spent 7 years on Degrassi before releasing his first commercial mixtape in 2006. So Far Gone in 2009 changed everything. 2 tracks entering the Billboard Hot 100 without a major label deal on the strength of internet distribution alone. He signed to Young Money in 2010, released Thank Me later that year, and began a commercial run that has not meaningfully stopped since. In 2021, he signed a deal with Universal Music Group worth a reported $400 million, covering his recording and visual media rights and establishing long-term financial security for his intellectual property at a level that very few artists of any genre have negotiated. In April 2025, he became the first artist in the history of the Recording Industry Association of America to surpass 500 million certified units across albums, singles, and features combined. The boy from Weston Road is the most commercially certified recording artist in American history, and he built the empire to match it in Toronto. The financial model Drake built around his music career is the same model that the best athlete entrepreneurs have deployed for decades. Turn the commercial leverage created by your primary talent into ownership positions across adjacent industries before the leverage expires. OVO Sound launched in 2012 with longtime collaborators Noah "40" Shabib and Oliver El Khatib, gave Drake direct control over music production, artist development, and distribution. In 2024, OVO Sound entered a joint venture with Sony's Santa Ana label, amplifying international distribution and investment reach without surrendering the ownership structure that 40 and Drizzy built from scratch. Nocta, the Nike sub-label launched in 2020, sits inside the most commercially powerful athletic apparel partnership in the world while maintaining the visual and cultural identity of Drake's specific aesthetic. Dream Crew, his production company, produced Top Boy for Netflix and has been associated with Euphoria on HBO, extending his creative footprint into television without requiring him to perform in it. And across Toronto, OVO flagship stores function as physical brand embassies, retail locations that sell merchandise, but also serve as cultural markers in the city that the brand is named for. OVO Fest has run annually in Toronto since 2010, a music festival so consistently significant in its surprise guest booking that it became the event that proved Toronto's August could compete with any concert season in any city on Earth. Kanye West performed, Jay-Z performed, Eminem performed, Stevie Wonder performed, Lil Wayne, Nicki Minaj. Drake has used OVO Fest not just as a revenue event, but as an annual public statement that the city he refused to leave is the city the music world comes to in August. The festival is the most expensive and most visible proof of the Toronto decision, the choice to build the empire where he grew up, rather than where the industry told him to. Chapter 2. The Embassy. What $100 million builds when you design it yourself? In April 2015, Drake paid $6.7 million for a lot in Bridle Path, Toronto's most exclusive residential neighborhood, the street where the wealthiest families in Canada have lived for generations. He did not buy a house, he bought the land, and then he spent years with Canadian interior architect Ferris Raffauli designing a structure from the foundation upward that he described to Architectural Digest as something he intended to leave behind. A physical record of what his career had made possible, built in his hometown in limestone and bronze, with old-world craftsmanship applied at every surface. The total cost of construction, approximately $100 million. The result, 50,000 square feet of Beaux-Arts architecture with modern Art Deco interiors set into the Bridle Path tree line that appeared on the cover of Architectural Digest in 2020 under the name Drake had given it, the Embassy. The Embassy contains an NBA regulation basketball court, full-size, professional specification with Michael Jordan's personal signature on the hardwood floor. It contains a 2-story walk-in closet where Drake's sneaker and clothing archive is stored and displayed across both levels. It contains a 4,000-pound marble bathtub in the master suite, a single piece of carved stone that weighs as much as a mid-size car and required specialized installation infrastructure before the room around it could be completed. It contains a Bösendorfer custom concert grand piano, one of the most respected piano manufacturers in the world, placed in a room designed acoustically to complement the instrument. It contains a full recording studio, a bowling alley, a gym, and a dedicated room for Drake's Hermes Birkin collection, displayed across the walls like museum pieces in a private gallery that exists inside a private residence and is not accessible to the public at any price. The interiors combine canary yellow lounges with foliate backlit ceilings, custom furnishings in ostrich skin and mohair, macassar wood paneling, and bronze detailing throughout. Ferris Raffauli described the design philosophy as modern Art Deco, old-world craft applied to a contemporary sensibility built around the specific identity of the person who would live inside it. The most revealing thing Drake said about the Embassy was not about the basketball court or the marble bathtub. It was about the time horizon. He told Architectural Digest, Because I was building it in my hometown, I wanted the structure to stand firm for 100 years. It will be one of the things I leave behind, so it had to be timeless and strong. That statement reframes the entire $100 million expenditure. It is not a lifestyle purchase. It is a legacy construction, a building designed to outlast the career that funded it, to stand in Toronto as a physical record of what one person from Weston Road built long after the streaming numbers and the award show appearances have become historical data. The Embassy is not Drake's home. It is Drake's monument, built in the city he refused to leave for the 100 years after he is gone. The Bridle Path has been the address of Canada's wealthiest families for generations. The Thompson family, the Westons, the heirs of the industrial and financial dynasties that built the country's commercial infrastructure across the 19th and 20th centuries. And now on a lot that cost $6.7 million in 2015 and took years and $100 million to fill, a man who grew up in a rental on Weston Road has built the most talked about private residence in the neighborhood. Not the most expensive, the most talked about, the one that Architectural Digest put on the cover, the one that has a name, the one where the basketball court has a signature on the floor that belongs to the greatest player in the history of the game. In Bridle Path in Toronto, built to last 100 years. Chapter 3. The wider empire, tours, deals, and a global machine headquartered in Canada. If you have ever bought a Drake concert ticket, streamed a Drake album on Spotify, purchased an OVO hoodie, bought a pair of Nocta trainers, or watched Top Boy on Netflix, you have contributed financially to an empire that is headquartered not in Los Angeles, not in New York, but in a limestone and bronze building in the Bridle Path neighborhood of Toronto, Ontario. Drake has been one of the 3 highest-earning musicians on Earth for over a decade, and the infrastructure that holds all of it together was built in Canada. The It's All a Blur tour, which ran from 2023 into 2024, grossed $320.5 million, the highest-grossing hip-hop tour in history, surpassing every previous record in the genre. Drake performed nearly 40 songs per night across a production so technically ambitious that the tour's set construction requirements alone required advanced crews of over 100 people. The Anita Max Win Tour launched in Australia and New Zealand in early 2025 before moving to Europe, was projected to generate over $100 million additional revenue by the time it concluded. Beyond touring, Drake's real estate portfolio now extends beyond the Embassy to include a $75 million Beverly Hills estate, 25,000 square feet of Tuscan-style architecture on nearly 20 acres above Benedict Canyon, purchased from Robbie Williams in 2022, a 313-acre Texas ranch, and a Beverly Hills rental at $250,000 per month when the sale could not be completed at the $88 million asking price. Total documented real estate holdings over $200 million. Total net worth $400 million and rising. The financial architecture of Drake's empire beyond music is the clearest expression of what OVO as a brand was always designed to become. OVO Sound is not just a music label, it has its own Sirius XM channel, Sound 42, curating music and building artists on a platform that reaches every car radio on the North American continent. Nocta is not just a merchandise collaboration, it is a Nike sub-label with its own design language, its own product calendar, and its own retail presence inside the most commercially powerful athletic apparel company in the world. Dream Crew is not just a production company, it produced Top Boy, which Netflix acquired and ran for 2 additional seasons after Drake's involvement secured the show's survival and international distribution. The 100 Thieves esports stake places him inside the fastest-growing spectator sport category in the world. Every arm of the OVO machine generates revenue independently of whether Drake releases a new album or goes on tour. The music funds the first purchase. The empire runs itself after that. $400 million in documented net worth, the highest-grossing hip-hop tour in history, 500 million RIAA certified units, more than any artist who has ever lived. A $100 million estate in the most expensive neighborhood in Canada, built from scratch on a lot he bought for $6.7 million, designed to stand for 100 years, and a music and media empire, OVO Sound, Nocta, Dream Crew, SiriusXM, esports, real estate, that generates revenue across 6 industries simultaneously from a headquarters in Toronto that has a basketball court on the ground floor with Michael Jordan's name on the wood. Drake told Architectural Digest, "It will be one of the things I leave behind." He was not talking about furniture, he was talking about a building, a company, and a cultural footprint so deeply embedded in one city that Toronto's identity in the 21st century cannot be told without his name in it. From a rented house on Weston Road to a $100 million limestone estate in Bridle Path in the same city 40 years apart. Drake did not leave Toronto when he could have. He stayed, bought the land, and built the structure that he said would be one of the things he leaves behind. The highest grossing hip-hop tour in history, the most commercially certified recording artist who has ever lived, and a Toronto empire, the Embassy, OVO, Nocta, Dream Crew, that was built not in spite of being Canadian, but because of it. So tell us in the comments, which part of this story hits hardest? The Embassy itself? $100 million built from scratch on a $6.7 million lot to last 100 years. The OVO machine, a music label, a SiriusXM channel, a Nike sub-label, and a Netflix show, all headquartered in Toronto, or the Michael Jordan signature on the basketball court, because when you build the court, you get to choose who signs the floor? Drop it below right now.